Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Chris, and I'm dialing in from Johannesburg, South Africa. And welcome to our team training call on Thursday, the 27th of June. And tonight we've got Bridget Theunissen from Johannesburg as well, which is going to be talking tonight on the topic of consistency and follow-up. And Bridget did a talk at our convention three and a half weeks ago. And what I did is I asked each speaker that spoke for the 10 minutes to come and do the extended training every Thursday night. So Bridget is up tonight. And I couldn't think of anybody better to talk on the topic of consistency because, you know, in this business, in this industry, consistency is key. So you can't do like a whole lot in one day, and then for 2 weeks do absolutely nothing. The key is rather to do that tiny little bit every day, because consistency, when you do that on a regular basis, creates what you call a habit. And anything you do for 21 days, you make or break a good or bad habit. So that's 21 days. Then you do it for a season, for 90 days. And then it gets embedded into your neural pathways, and it becomes a complete habit that you feel like if you haven't done something, you feel like you are missing something. You know that feeling in the day where you feel like you maybe have lost your keys, but you got your keys in your hand and you think there's something I haven't done yet today. And that's eventually the point that you want to get to. And then follow up. We've all heard the saying before, the fortune is in the follow up. And I must admit, sometimes I can be a little bit rusty on the follow-up because I deal with so many messages, and it gets like, you know, in WhatsApp, it gets pushed down so quickly. Sometimes we need to take that time out to scroll further down, and then you realize, oh my word, I spoke to somebody like 2 weeks ago and I haven't got back to them. And then you message them back and they say, well, I was waiting for you to get back to me. So you're like, yikes. So it's like starting a relationship. You're not going to go out on your first date, right? And then you just never get a message to this person again. You've got to like say, geez, thank you for dinner last night. It was nice meeting you. You know, it's the same type of thing. You are in a relationship. So this is so important, the follow-up. So yeah, I don't think there's anybody better that can explain it better tonight than Bridget. We've known each other for, geez, quite a couple of years. We've been through a lot of different programs together. And you know, when we had dinner the other night with Sandy and Eric, we definitely all came to the same conclusion that everything else we did was practice to lead us up to this point in our life, because this is it. And we all said, yes, this is it. So yeah, this is very exciting, and we're in a very exciting place right now, and we have a lot of fun. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Bridget. Take it away.
Thanks, you, Chris. Well, welcome everybody to tonight's topic. So I'm going to dive right in. So I need to share my screen with you first. So let's get that done. There we go. There we go. And I hope you can all see that. All good. Rightio. So the topic we said is consistency and follow-up. Now, if we just have a brief look at what is the meaning of consistency? There we go. So the meaning of consistency is someone who always behaves in the same way. And the thing is, you are going to be steady, you're going to be regular. That is part of your behavior if you are consistent. And the question also is, why would you want to be consistent? Because consistency will get you those results. You know, it's like if you were trying to lose weight, for example, or you were starting a new exercise plan. You can't say, I'm going to do it 1 day a week, for example. That's not going to give you the results that you want. Or even, for example, learning a new skill or a new craft. You start a new project. You need to be consistent. Otherwise, you're never going to finish the project. And I know quite a few people that say to me, oh, I've got so many unfinished projects. I just don't seem to get round to them. So again, back to consistency, and obviously sometimes what are your priorities is the next question, I suppose, you could also put into that bracket. Now, What are we going to do if we want to be consistent? Well, the first thing I'm saying is we're going to do something every day. And like Chris said earlier, it's not do everything in one day and then do nothing for a week. It's doing it every day. So that little every day, like he said, will become a habit. And doing something every day means you are active. So some of the tips I'm going to share with you. For example, every day, maybe phone a new prospect or 2 or 3. There's no limit. It's really up to you. And you always have a name list with all these prospects on them. So work through them and keep on phoning these people. Never give up on anybody. If they say they are not interested, ask them if you can stay in touch, because that's part of a relationship building, staying in touch with somebody. And you can say to them, for example, maybe I can just send you a little testimonial once a week about what I'm experiencing in this business. And most people are not going to mind to a little testimonial maybe once a week. It's not like you're sending them a bunch of info, which they're just going to scroll past and they're not even going to look at it. So send them a little testimonial once a week. And obviously, most of us tend to use WhatsApp. So we would WhatsApp that to them. And maybe also try and be consistent in that. For example, send out your testimonial every Monday. So they will get into this habit of knowing, but Bridget didn't send me a testimonial today. I wonder what's wrong with Bridget. Maybe I need to check in with her. You never know. Maybe they'll even phone you to find out what's happening because you didn't send them a testimonial. And always call people back, even if they say, no, not now. I can't do, I'm too busy. You hear all those kind of reasons or excuses, whatever you want to call them, but stay in touch because you know what? Life changes. And the unexpected can come somebody's way and you just happen to phone back and start chatting to them. And all of a sudden, wow, they now say, but they're interested. Please send me some information. So back to that, regular follow-up, consistency, even if it's every 3 or 4 months, get hold of that person that said no in the beginning. Now, when you're speaking to that new prospect, I always say speak over the phone. I don't send out a massive lot of WhatsApp to everybody, for example. I like to do personal contact, but that's maybe me. I'm the older generation, so I know younger generation loves sending out WhatsApps, but that's not me. But you must do whatever works for you in your business as long as you are consistent. And when you send that information to the person, make sure it's not too much information, because there's such a thing as information overload. And once again, if you've sent too much and the stuff is too long for that first contact that you're making with that person, the chances are they'll never even look at it. So we've always had those little suggestions, a 2-minute video here, send them maybe a little testimonial, always send them, this is itinfo.com, because they can then take their own time to look at that. But what I also say to people, ask it this way, say to them, if I send you some info, will you look at it? And then just keep quiet, because they're going to have to say an answer. If they say yes, in their own psyche, they feel committed to actually looking at what you have sent them. And then the next thing to say to the person is, can I call you maybe in 2 days' time, Wednesday or Thursday, and always give 2 options? Because the chances are when you only give them 1 option, they're going to tell you they're busy that day. But if you give them 2 options, the chances are they're going to say, no, Thursday will be good, for example. And the reason why you're wanting to call them, of course, is to be able to answer any questions. And that's what you can tell them. Can I call you on Wednesday or Thursday so I can answer some of the questions that you might have? And then I go even further and I say, would Wednesday or Thursday, morning, afternoon, or evening suit you? Because again, that pins them down to a time. Because then you can say after that, great, 6 or 7 p.m. Again, give 2 options. And that way you can fill your diary so that you don't have other stuff dropping in and overlapping. And yes, it does happen when you phone that person at that agreed time at 7 o'clock on that Wednesday or Thursday night, they might even say to you, look, I'm terribly sorry, but I really haven't had a chance to have a look at that information. Well, go through it again and just reschedule. Ask them, well, can I do it Saturday, Sunday, Monday or Tuesday? You know, this time, that time, morning, afternoon, or evening. So just reschedule and follow up again. And you know what has happened to me as well? And that was, again, we all slipped through things slipped through the cracks. And it was somebody I didn't phone back after 3 or 4 months. And guess what? They appeared at a meeting because somebody else had got hold of them in the meantime. So that can happen to you as well. You wonder, oh my word, look who's here. I phoned that person, but now they're here with somebody else. So that is one thing that does happen, and we see it all the time. So let's have a look at something else that we can discuss. Follow up with your downline. You know, when we introduce people into this business, not everybody that comes in here and wants to build a business has done network or referral marketing. So they really need a lot of help and support right in the beginning. And that's when we encourage them, of course, to come to Zoom meetings, to trainings, whatever we're providing for them. And for some of us, we provide that also for our teams, which is private stuff that we start doing, because sometimes the days and the times don't suit all of our people. And that is what I have found. If I want to do a live something with some of my team, I have to follow up and get a time from them, because some of my team is in the USA. So their time and my time doesn't always coincide. I've got some of my team in the UK, same thing. Okay, they're only an hour behind, thank goodness. But Australia, now we're going the opposite way. They're ahead of us. So following up with those people and getting times in our diary, wonderful way to start keeping that consistency going. Now, another thing I've found, because I make a point of when I have signed somebody up, I consistently want to follow up with them and help them, especially with that new first order. You've helped them enroll, for example, but what happens is that first order, again, some people don't even know how to use a computer that well, and so they just don't order, and nobody phones them up. And after 3 months, maybe you do phone them, and you go, how are you doing on your product? And they go, well, I haven't ordered again because I actually don't know how to do it. So I've been able to resurrect, I can call it that word maybe, people, and get some more of that PV going in my team, because I'm consistently trying to follow up with people. The other thing that we also find is that the back office. I had somebody today, for example, she was trying to do an order. She wasn't even logging into her back office. I have no idea what she was trying, but when she tried to send me some screenshots, it was not her pricing for starters. So it was at retail. She should have been getting it at wholesale. And so then I had to sit with her and show her how to get into her back office. And these are people that are not my directs. I did not sign them up. They are 3 or 4 generations away from me. So I'm working consistently with those people that have been brought in by somebody else via somebody else. So I never even knew them in the beginning. And like I say here, not everybody is computer literate. Let's have a look. What else have we got here? Oh, back to this thing of consistency again, and looking at training people, back office, and even the compensation plan. You know, we sometimes say, well, there's our Zoom meeting. There is a YouTube video you can look at. And some people, I don't know, they just never get around to it. But if you pin them down to a time and you put a meeting date in the diary, guess what? They're going to probably show up, because now it's a priority and it's in the diary, and that means they're going to do something with that time. Another thing that I also like to do and follow up with is doing my private Zooms, because some people, Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays is great. But again, because of my time zones, that's the other problem. Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays works better for me to follow up with some of my team, because obviously during the day on a Saturday they can attend, and I'm still awake at 10 o'clock at night, but it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon for them, for example. So I encourage people to also come to private Zooms. And the Zooms on Tuesdays, as we know, are in Afrikaans. So again, there's only certain people that might attend those Zooms because they don't understand the language. Looking at the trainings, this is something I also try and follow up and let's say move that information on through the team. Is I think Dr. David Schmidt is a wealth of knowledge, and to actually be consistent and listen to his talk, which he generally does once a month. And we normally get an email the day before to say that this is the time. And at the moment it's 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. Sometimes it used to be always the first Wednesday of the month. And I think it was now the second Wednesday for some reason this month. And they do record them, so one can listen to it later. But Dr. David Schmidt for me is a must on a Wednesday. And then Thursdays, as we know, being consistent and wanting to learn more, you come to trainings. And again, also Saturday evenings is when we have the Zoom meetings with the overseas teams as well. So just to touch back on that about Zooms and meetings, I've had some people that will phone me 5 minutes before a meeting and ask me to send them the link, which tells me they did not look at the WhatsApp group because otherwise they would have seen it there. So again, sometimes I will send that out to some of my own people. I consistently send to some of my key people, and then they can obviously send it out to the people that they want to get to the Zooms. The other thing was product promotions. You know, if you want to increase your business turnover for that particular week, if there's a promotion on, then try and get that promotion out to as many of your team members as possible. And of course, this new product of ours, Alavida, which has only been around for a month. And some people probably don't even know about it because they're not a person that looks at all the meeting stuff. They don't come onto Zooms, and they're just buying product for themselves as and when they want to. And by telling them about that, I told somebody today about the Alavida, and she said, oh, no, I'm going to try that. So she went straight ahead and she ordered it. And calling your people regularly. You know, I love to speak to my upline. I don't speak to them verbally, sometimes every day, but I do speak to my upline enroller every day. I will either send her a follow-up message to say, this is what I've done for today. This is what's happening in my team, because my upline will always be available to help me if I ask her. And, you know, I've even used my upline. It's not abuse. It's just used in some circumstances. When I had a big meeting with a whole bunch of people in America, and I asked her, could she come on the call so that we could do a follow-up with all these people? And she came on for the first 5 minutes of the call. That's all it took for them to see that, you know, Bridget has got other support in the business. So when we want to follow up, we can find somebody else to help us. And like I said earlier, you know, some people just never, ever look at a WhatsApp. So now I want to look at this thing called the daffodil principle. This is a story, and the actual story has got so many nice hidden gems in it. And the actual garden that they're talking about here is a specific place. It does exist. And this garden actually exists in California, in the USA, about 50 miles outside of Los Angeles. So one can actually go and visit the garden if one really wanted to. Now, so here I'm going to start reading the story. Several times my daughter had phoned to say, and then we sometimes have to do that. We phone people several times before they actually get the message or act on what we say. In this case, she said, Mother, you must come and see the daffodils before they're over. I wanted to go, but it was a 2-hour drive from Laguna to Lake Arrowhead. I will come next Tuesday, I promised, a little reluctantly on her third call. So there we've got the persistence, we've got the follow-up, the consistency. She didn't stop. This girl did not stop until her mother said yes or did something. So what happened? The next Tuesday dawned, cold and rainy. And I know what happens when the weather is bad and you're supposed to meet somebody somewhere, you were physically going somewhere, and people start phoning and they say, oh no, it's too cold, it's too wet. So the excuses will come out with bad weather that I have experienced. Anyway, so here she says, still I had promised. And so I drove over there. When I finally walked into Caroline's house and hugged and greeted my grandchildren, I said, forget the daffodils, Caroline. The road is invisible in the clouds and fog, and there is nothing in the world except you and these children that I want to see bad enough to drive another inch. Now, her daughter said to her, sorry, I can't see the top of my screen for some reason. Let me go back here. She said, Mother, we drive in this weather all the time, so don't worry. She said, I'm hoping you're going to take me to the garage to pick up my car. And this pickup I highlighted here because what I used to find also in the follow-up of trying to get somebody to come to, let's say, a live meeting somewhere in my area, and they didn't live too far out of my way, I would say to them, you know what, why don't I pick you up on Saturday morning at 9:30 and we will go to the meeting together. And that sometimes works like a charm, getting the person to the meeting that way. So follow up with that kind of tactic as well. How far will we have to drive? Just a few blocks, Caroline said. I'll drive. I'm used to this. After several minutes, I had to ask, where are we going? This isn't the way to the garage. We're going to my garage the long way, Caroline smiled, by way of the daffodils. And that other thing with follow up and talking to somebody and building a relationship, if they're sitting in your car with you, you know, you've got all the time in the world. If it's taking you half an hour to go somewhere with them to actually establish some stuff between the two of you. So I love picking up somebody and taking them to a meeting with me. Caroline, I said sternly, please turn around. It's all right, Mother, I promise. You will never forgive yourself if you miss this experience. So they went down a road until they saw this hand-lettered sign that said Daffodil Garden. We got out of the car and each took a child's hand, and I followed Caroline down the path. Then we turned a corner of the path and I looked up and gasped. Before me lay the most glorious sight. It looked as though someone had taken a great vat of gold and poured it down over the mountain peaks and slopes. The flowers were planted in majestic swirls, great ribbons and swaths of deep orange, white, lemon yellow, salmon pink, saffron, and butter yellow. Each different colored variety was planted as a group so that it swirled and flowed like its own river with its own unique hue. There were 5 acres of flowers. A lot of work was done here. But who has done this? I asked Caroline. Oh, just one woman, Caroline answered. She lives on the property. That's her home. It only takes one person to do something consistently, and they can change the world. As you can see, this is what this woman did. So they went up to the house and they looked at the midst of all this glory. It was a very modest house. And when they got there on the patio, they saw a poster that said, answers to your questions. I know you are asking, was the headline. And that's the other thing in terms of being consistent and follow up with people is that we need to ask questions. How is things going with you? What's happening in your life? How is the job? And sometimes they're going to tell you something there which tells you, ooh, no, now I can really talk to them. They might complain about something about their health of their family or a family member, or they might say, but I've just lost my job, because you took the time to follow up in that 3 to 4 months afterwards. Now here, the first answer was simple. 50,000 bulbs, it read. That's a lot of bulbs to be planting. And she probably did it in any day, any time. The weather didn't matter, because she had a goal, she had a mission, and she was going to do something that would leave behind this legacy of what she had started. The second answer to this question was one at a time, by one woman. And the same with us here. We consistently are following up with somebody, one person at a time, one day at a time, and we will get those results one little moment after moment. The answer over here was also 2 hands, 2 feet, and a very little brain. And the third answer was she began in 1958. It's never too late to start a project, as long as you're going to persist and that you're going to be consistent and follow up, you will finish that project. So there it was, the daffodil principle. For me, that moment was a life-changing experience. I thought of this woman who I had never met, who more than 40 years ago had begun this project, one bulb at a time, to bring her vision of beauty and joy to an obscure mountaintop. Still, just planting one bulb at a time, year after year, had changed the world. And the same with all of us that are here in our LifeWave business. We are doing something every day, one day at a time, but year after year, we are certainly going to change the world. This unknown woman had forever changed the world in which she lived. She had created something of indescribable magnificence, beauty, and inspiration. So here we say the principles of celebration, that is, we learn to move towards our goals and our desires one step at a time. Often just one baby step at a time, and learning to love this doing, learning to use the accumulation of time, willing to learn new skills so that we can improve ourselves. We will move forward. And we need to recognize that when we multiply these tiny pieces of time with small increments of daily effort, we too can accomplish magnificent things, and we too can change the world. Now, this is what her mother said. It makes me sad in a way, I admitted to Caroline. What might I have accomplished if I had thought of a wonderful goal 35 or 40 years ago and had worked away at it one bulb at a time through all those years? Just think what I might have been able to achieve. Her pragmatic daughter just said, she summed it up in the message of the day for her in her usual direct way: start tomorrow. Yes, don't procrastinate. Just, if you've had a bad day and you didn't do anything, start again tomorrow. You've got a new fresh day. You've got 24 hours tomorrow. Just start again tomorrow. So that's my story of the daffodil principle. And that is my story for tonight as well. Short and sweet, I guess. There we go, Chris.
Absolutely brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for all those reminders. I've been making some notes here. Let me tell you, there's a few things like what you were talking about where a person just doesn't know. They just don't know to log in, how to place an order. And I think we leave too much to assumption that people know what to do. And I think we need to go back to when you joined. Your hand was held, and that's our job as a sponsor. We've got a responsibility to the people that we sign up. And I find a lot of orphans. And what do I mean by the word orphans? A lot of people are getting signed up and dumped. And, that's not right. They just say, get onto the group and put them on the group and then go find your own way to make it happen. It doesn't work like that. And anybody that knows, you've got to be hands-on. It's, think of it this way. You have a child, you have a baby, right? So think about it. I think about when my first child was born. I'll never forget. getting home from the hospital, you drive this little brand new baby home and you put it on the bed and you look at it and you go, now what? What do we do? And you get what I call the peanut gallery. Everybody's going to give you their advice on how to bring up your own child. But at the end of the day, there's certain things that you need to know. And you're not just going to leave this child and say, hey, baby, get on with it, grow yourself up. That's your job as a parent. So I think about what we do for our children as a parent. It's the same principle we need to bring across here. People have never been in this industry before, and they just don't know, and they just need their hand held in the beginning, which is so important. So thank you for reminding everybody of that, Bridget. And then also the other thing is the consistency. Guys, a lot of you know, George sent me 21 messages. 21 messages George sent me. Now, guys, imagine if George gave up after the third or fourth message. I wasn't even replying back to him. But you know what his secret was? He was consistent with me. And guess what? On his 21st message, George got my attention. Normally, in the traditional marketing world, this is like research. You can go and read up on it. It takes 8 to 12 exposures before a person makes a decision to take action on something. So always keep that in mind, 8 to 12 exposures. And Bridget, the way you put it was beautiful. On a Monday morning, or keep it consistent on a Monday, that you just send a testimony, a friendly testimony, and people are eventually going to go on a Tuesday, Bridget, are you okay? I like that. I like that. I made a note of that. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So, what we can do is, if anybody would like to comment on Bridget's training tonight, I'll open it up. Maybe we can have 2 or 3 people. Just put your hand up, and maybe if you'd like to make a comment of something that you have done similarly that has worked for you, or something that you've done that hasn't worked and how you've maybe tweaked it a little bit. Always nice to hear what people are doing, because at the end of the day, we all learn from each other, eh, Bridget? We all learn from each other.
Absolutely. Yes, we do. Yes,
I've learned
yes.
from you tonight. You've learned from me. We all just learn. And that's what's so beautiful about being part of this beautiful community, is that we work together as a team, and we all like-minded, like-hearted people, and we all want to make a difference in this world. And we do it together, which is so beautiful. So, no, absolutely loved it. Beautiful, beautiful training tonight. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think you summed it up absolutely beautifully, Bridget. Well done. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your nuggets and wisdom. Oh, wait. Hey, we got Don.
Don has got his hand up, I think. Yeah.
Yes, let me ask Don to unmute. And I'm going to ask him to put his video. There we go. Don's video is on. Hey, Don.
Hey, hi, everybody. Bridget, you taking me back to the convention. The day you presented there, it was like, wow, wow, wow. And again today, it was like, wow. The nuggets you are sharing today, I've taken some. I've taken notes at the convention. I've taken notes again, and it's tips that we should use every day to follow up, and how to follow up, and how to send too much info. And I'm a culprit of that. I'm trying to send as much as I've learned today, that send succinct, relevant info first, and follow-ups. Thank you very much for your contribution. This has gone a long way. Thank you.
Pleasure, Don. Yes. Little is good.
Yeah,
Lots is overload.
thank you.
Very nice reminder there, Don. I love that you mentioned that, because listen, I'm guilty of it. And I think every single one of us on this call are guilty of it. We get excited and we call it puking on people. Don't puke on people. That's like, bleh. too much information. I can see Rian smiling and nodding his head there. Yeah, we do it, and we just start to refine it a little bit. And it's all about just, it's called drip feeding. You know, if you are in a hospital and you've got this drip attached to you, this saline liquid, have you ever seen what the nurse does? The nurse regulates the drops coming down, because if you take that whole bag and squeeze that whole bag into your body in 5 minutes, guess what's going to happen? It's going to kill you. You'll be dead. So what they do is they regulate it, and that's why it's called drip feeding. And you give people tiny drips, little bits of information, and you start off with video clips, shorter video clips, and then you can extend it to a little bit longer. Like I like to use the 3-minute clip plus Popple Up the Dog. That is such a powerful 1-minute video clip. I always send that to people because testimonies are powerful. Facts tell, stories sell. And when it comes to an animal, there's nothing more emotional and powerful as that. Then the next clip I see, obviously, always, this is at info.com. Good reminder there, Bridget, always.
Yes.
Then after that, I like to send that one by Dr. Harmon, that 9 minutes video clip where Dr. Harmon explains everything about X39 in 9 minutes. That is one of my favorite clips. Funny because it says doctor in front of his name. It's got the word DR. That clip has already had 1,700 views on our YouTube channel in a week and a half because it said the word doctor in front of it. Yeah, and it carries a lot of weight, you know. So beautiful clip. And then thereafter, then I go to David Schmidt, the 36-minute video clip talking to healthcare professionals. So also keep that in mind, guys. The clips that you're sending, you start with the shorter time videos, and then you extend it a little bit further from there. And something I'm going to be sharing with everybody during the course of the weekend, it's called a universal voice note. So you're probably thinking, what is Chris talking about? Universal voice note. Guys, we're busy. Back to what Bridget was saying. Bridget, I've made so many notes from your training tonight. It was absolutely superb. WhatsApp. Guys, specifically South Africans, we all communicate a lot on WhatsApp. And what I love is voice notes. So I start the conversation off. So if it's somebody I haven't spoken to in a couple of months, you don't include the person's name. So what you do, you're creating a voice note that you can send to everybody. And I've done my own voice note. It's 1 minute and 22 seconds long. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Geez, we haven't spoken for a couple of months. How's everything going? Listen, I've come across something really exciting that I need to share with you. And I've got it all typed up. I've got it as per the wording. It'll take you a few times to get it right, to get your perfect clip right. And you know what's so nice about that? Is you can send that voice note to anybody, any time, even when you're having a shitty day. You know, we're all allowed to have a down day, and you just don't feel so, but then we go back to Bridget talking about the consistency. Now, if you don't feel like it, you're just not in the mood, it's too cold or whatever, just send that perfect voice note that you made, and you can send that to people because they're going to feel your excitement and your energy. And guys, when you make this universal voice note, stand up when you're doing it. And you're probably thinking, stand up, why? When you imagine you crouch down and you're kind of like doing this voice note, your lungs aren't properly open, stand up, breathe, walk around. Because what happens is when you're doing this voice note, when you're standing up, you can feel the energy and you're breathing nicely. So do that when you do that. But I'll send that all onto the group soon. I'm just refining everything. I've put all the wording together. And then straight away I say, please, I want you to watch this 3-minute video clip. I want you to look at this website, scroll down to the bottom to watch the doctor's reviews and look at what it's doing for animals. I'm in a rush. Tell me when you've watched this. Chat to you soon. As George and Harvey always say, you're always in a hurry, but you're never in a hurry. And you got to keep it moving and flowing. Guys, this will completely revolutionize things. I've been doing this. I'm busy with so many people right now. I'm like, oh my word. And then the next step is what to send. So And that goes right back to the consistency. So I think people can take a lot from your call tonight, Bridget. Thank you. Thank you so much again.
Pleasure, Chris. Anytime.
Okie dokie. Guys, enjoy your Thursday. See you all on the Saturday training call when we connect with this is a team in the USA. Always amazing nuggets from our teams. Absolutely amazing. Okay. Marlena said, I do not know when you sleep. Well, I sleep from time to time.
We do.
We do.
We do.
Yes.
We do, Chris. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Love you all. Have an awesome evening. See you guys on the groups and on the Zooms. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.